strikes your mind that ESOP, because nowadays we keep on hearing this a very new term ESOP, especially in startup. My agenda would be to give you little knowledge about ESOP, how it is beneficial for employees, what benefits you can avail via ESOP scheme, what you need to be aware about ESOP scheme as an employee. So I know I will be getting beating from your co-founders, but I have to tell you that, right? That you become owners via ESOP plan. So if I say owners, you get equity. Equity shares we all understand, right? You should act. And you need to understand and adhere to the company policies. Whatever policies are there in the system, please read them, understand them, and adhere to them. And if you cannot, then please reach out to her, because she will make you understand. And or to your vendors, which we cannot fulfill, because overcommitting perhaps can result in litigation most of the time. So I'll start with ESOP. I want to know, first of all, what is your understanding when the term, strikes your mind that ESOP, because nowadays we keep on hearing this a very new term ESOP, especially in startups. I've seen. Tell me that, what do you understand? And please don't hesitate, okay? Whatever knowledge you have, you can certainly improvise, share, and talk about it, so that we all can gain in today's session something. So anybody who is up for ESOP, what do you understand? What is your understanding maybe? Nobody? Somebody? Yes. Your name?
My name is Rachit.
Rachit. Okay. Yes.
ESOP is employee stock options. Basically,
Somewhere correct. So this is employee stock ownership program. Generally, this is a process which is with the term itself. I think it's self-explanatory that here you get ownership of shares, but very well tried, I must say. Anybody else who want to throw some light on ESOP? What do you have, so that I can maybe guide you in a certain manner? I understand that this is the level of knowledge you have, and maybe we can start accordingly. What all you know about ESOP? Is it a new term for all of you? Or you have read somewhere something about it, maybe? Because I know from your founders that they are working very hard on ESOP, and I think I'm hearing from last 2-3 years, Vishnu, Mihir, if not wrong, that we are working on ESOP scheme we have designed and all of that. So I think I'm late for this session then.
the company they were actually planning to actually close. They were another company.
No, company did not close. That's a wrong term. Company got merged in a new company. So we have a wider trade name now. That is how we as a legal counsel describes that. So okay, the full form is, I have already informed you that in today's session, my agenda would be to give you little knowledge about ESOP, how it is beneficial for employees, what benefits you can avail via ESOP scheme, what you need to be aware about ESOP scheme as an employee. So I know I will be getting beating from your co-founders, but I have to tell you that, right? So let's start with the session. I will start with the meaning of ESOP. Like you have said, ESOP is employee stock option plan. So this is employee stock ownership plan, sorry. Under this, how it gets operated is that you become owners via ESOP plan. So if I say owners, you get equity. Equity shares we all understand, right? So when you get equity of an organization, which makes you somewhere beneficiary under the organization, and just like Vishnu, Mihir, Shobhit, you all become in a way co-founders in an organization. You can relate more to the organization, because if the organization is growing to grow up, you are also growing to grow up. So I have seen, for example, I'll give you an example of Tatas, because I'm associated with Tatas. So we have given some amount of ESOP to very senior level for now, and I can see that they are running in the profit or the dividend, and whatever income the accumulated income which is coming in their accounts is in lakhs. So do not try to think that ESOP is, I've got just 10 shares or I've just got 20 shares. What am I going to do with that? How am I becoming owner of that? So that's not the case. So even if you have 20 shares and if the organization is growing up, to a level where these 20 shares can maybe give you a larger amount of profit, I think then it's a fair deal. And additionally, these ESOP do not ask for an additional cost from you. You don't have to pay as per fair market value. Maybe the valuation of the organization is 40 CR or 100 CR. I'm not aware what is the current valuation, fair market value. But to the employees, it gets issued at a very discounted, at a very minimal rate, so which is not hitting your pocket anyway. And at the end of the day, when you are leaving the organization, it becomes obligatory for the owners or the co-founders or the directors on the board to take that ESOP back from you, to buy that back and give you whatever, the dividend or whatever is against that ESOP pending. And that becomes the first due. So even in the situation where the company gets liquidated or they file insolvency, even at that stage, ESOP becomes the first creditor on the board. So now you understand the importance of ESOP, which is a very widely used term across the globe. I would say outside India, this is more termed as phantom stocks. But in India, these phantom stocks are not common, which is why ESOP, which is a regulated thing, it comes under Companies Act. All the process, procedure, everything is defined under Companies Act. It's not that they can do anything with their choice. They have to follow Companies Act. There is a set procedure. There is a scheme which needs to be made, and they cannot be partial while issuing this ESOP. Okay, there are criterias to issue ESOP. There are parameters. So parameters can be seniority or your tenure in the organization. It can also be your performance. It can also be something which is beyond the box. Maybe you have, I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody who is a lawyer, who is in litigation, may have won a case which was around 1700 CR or something, and that person becomes eligible because that's something huge, tremendous you have brought to the organization. So there are different criterias which are parameters and eligibility criterias, I would name, which are compulsorily to be there in the, we are talking about ESOP. Okay, so I just started the session. I think you were on call. So I just explained what is ESOP and how it functions, how it is beneficial for you. So I'll try and tell you whatever information from employee perspective you should know about ESOPs. Because very soon they are going to launch it. So you should be knowing, you should be eating their heads all the time that what it means and how it works and how it functions, And especially I think you handle the HR. People will come to you. So you have to be very vigilant in my session. So now I'll apprise you with some common terms which you will generally see in the ESOP letter. So ESOP letter gets issued. Now I'll ask anybody of you, can you tell me what is the full form of ESOP? I just said. I'll keep asking questions, So be very attentive in my session. You don't know, okay, no problem. Ownership plan, yes, good. So I'll keep asking questions, that's what I'm saying. So now I'll come to few terms which you should be knowing as a employee. When you receive maybe the option letter, what are the terms, you will get jumbled up. So I really want to let everybody know. First term which I have jotted down for every one of you is the grant date. So anybody of you knows about grant date, what it is? Layman language also works for me, if anybody knows. Very good. Very good. Yes. So I'll read for everybody what I have tried to simplify and write it for you so that you all can understand and relate with it. instead of writing a legal jargon. I don't want to do that. So the date when an employer gives an employee the option to buy company shares at a later date. So let's say if a grant date is of today's, that does not mean that your bank accounts are getting higher in today's date. No, that only means that you've been granted so and so letter that you can avail that in future date. Okay, so this is a grant date wherein you will be announced a particular date that now you are eligible, okay, for employer ownership plan. Now you will be getting, or you can exercise it as per the ESOP scheme or as per the norms and regulations of Companies Act. So this is grant date. Now vesting date, anybody is aware? Vesting date. I'm sure this is a technical term, but if anybody has interest in share market, might be knowing.
When employee has opted for that option.
Little correct. Little correct.
Basically, the resting phase. You cannot utilize.
It's vesting.
They cannot, let's say it could be 1 to 2 years, but they cannot utilize it or redeem it.
It's not always 1 to 2 years, okay? So it depends what is written in your scheme. Let's say your scheme says 5 years, then it's 5 years. But I'll read that definition for you. The date when an employee is eligible to buy company shares after fulfilling certain conditions. And these certain conditions, where you will find this certain condition? In your ESOP scheme. So your ESOP scheme will tell you that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 checkpoints. If you check all of them, then the vesting period starts. Yes? Clear till now? Am I going too technical for you, all of you? Guys, see blank faces. Am I going too technical? Please tell me. I'll reduce my level. Oh. So, okay, I'll read that for you. The date when an employee is eligible to buy company shares after fulfilling certain conditions. So let's say, like I told you, that there are 5 checkpoints. If you check all of them, you are meeting the eligibility criteria and your vesting period starts. If you're not meeting the eligibility criteria, your vesting period doesn't start. Forget about exercising. Exercising is the last phase. First phase is grant date. Second phase is vesting period. And the last stage is your exercise period. Okay? Which I'll come on. So now vesting date is clear to all of us. Now I'll come to, so I'm making your job easy, by the way, and your as well. Thank me later. Vesting date, now I'll come on. Vesting date, sorry, I covered. Vesting period, I'll come on. So now you can figure out what vesting period is. What vesting period is? Yes? Tenure. What kind of tenure? Explain it more. So, okay, I'll read that for you. So it is the time between grant date and the vesting date. Okay, so vesting date is your checks, and then grant date, you know, when you've been offered that ESOP letter, that's your grant date. Now I'll come to exercise period, which is very important. So anybody now, because now you have some idea about exercise period. Exercise, you're right. Exercise period. Anybody up for it? It is time to act. Exercise is when you can actually act. So at grant, you've been offered the letter, and then your vesting period is also, which is a cooling off period. Somewhere you were correct, which is a cooling off period. And now the stage has come when you can actually exercise your right. Okay? So yes, so I'll read the definition for you, the easier one. The time after vesting when an employee can exercise their options to buy company shares. Okay, so now you can actually become the owner of these shares. So once you become owner, you can sell it anytime. Okay, so the main fight is to reach the exercise period, and for reaching the exercise period, you have to be good in everything. Whether it's your performance, whether it's your, I would say, other parameters, seniority, your tenure, a lot of parameters are there, and you should be fitting in all those parameters to avail this. Because granting an ESOP is not easy. You know, lot of board of directors do fight between themselves. I've seen a deadlock getting created because they don't want to issue ESOP. They don't want employees to be sitting at the same chair where they are sitting. This concept is more familiar earlier with the startups, but now when the time has grown and I see a lot of established organizations, like I gave example of Tata's, they have ESOP, but maybe their criteria are different than a startup. Okay, so this will motivate you to give hands for the growth of the organization overall, because if the organization grow, only then we all can grow as a part of the organization team. But it also gives you, it empowers you to become owner of that organization. You connect more. You can think like an owner. Earlier, if you think like an employee, you will say it's 5, it's 6, my time is up, I'm going. But suddenly some critical matters comes in. So you have to sit down and you have to see from the minds of CEO, and you have to see that whether I am in that shoes. You have to put your feet in that shoes and you have to think that, do I really need to leave at this stage when this matter is critical? We understand we all have something or the other in life to manage, but at the same time, if we manage our companies well, so I think we can. Success is something, a very small word, I would say. So on that note, I will also put your thought on repurchase obligation. This is company's obligation to buy back your ESOP shares from employees who leave or retire. So once you have that exercise period, once you have that exercise right, it becomes a mandate on them, hold all of them if they do not buy your shares. Okay, I'll at the end of my session, I'll give my number also. Anybody can reach me out. So now these were some terms. If I can know what is grant date from you. Yes.
For example, if you are getting allocated some specific shares, so grant date is that specific tenure when you can actually start the
Grant date, anybody else want to opt for before I answer?
Take the day.
No.
The day you are offered the letter.
Yes, absolutely. Your name? Shruti. Very good, Shruti. So this is the grant date. What you are referring is comes under vesting. Cliff period is a very different term. Don't mix cliff period here. Cliff period is a very different term, and spare people from cliff period understanding. So I'll now come to parameters of ESOP allotment. So like I said, there are no fixed parameters. Company has given that option whether they want what parameters best suiting their requirement, whether it is performance, whether it's your tenure, whether it's anything else out of the box the CEOs think and they put it there, or whether it's manager's discretion. So everything can be done in terms of parameters. But having said that, if they have defined a parameter, they cannot go ahead in tomorrow's date and say, no, that parameters were wrongly defined. I can't give you the shares now. So once the parameter is defined, it is communicated to you, you'll work on that parameter. As simple as that. Clear? Should we move ahead? Now you want to know the benefits of ESOP for you as an employee. So I'll come to the benefits now. First benefit, anybody else want to please try? Now I have told you so much about ESOP. I want to hear what benefit do you understand from this conversation? Show of hands. Very good. Yes, you become owner. Stock ownership was my first point. I don't want to repeat this point. Please tell me. I want to know from all of you. Sorry? Yes, you are right. Very good. Dividend was my second point. Your team is brilliant. I don't think I need this session. Okay, so dividend income. Your name? Mukesh. Very good, Mukesh. Anybody else want to try? Very less benefits. So I think you can try. Anybody else? Guys, participate. Because the more you participate, the more you will understand. Even if it is wrong, don't hesitate. I used to ask stupid questions in sessions which I have attended. So don't think everybody knows everything. I may not be knowing few things which I'll know from you. Right to transfer is your constitutional right. That ESOP doesn't allow you. You can anyways do it. Sorry? growth is certainly there because ESOP, gives a dividend income, so it's part of that. Yes, it can be correct. And if this line is not trying, should I pick anybody from this line? Are you guys even listening to me? Anybody want to try? Please try. Please go ahead. I encourage you participate. That's why they are not interested. And the most questions I get is from technology team.
Seriously?
Yes?
Shame on you guys.
So, okay. So, stock ownership we covered, and we all know what stock ownership is, right? Do you want me to explain that further? No, right? This line especially, you want me to repeat that for any one of you? So, what is stock ownership?
Basically, we are the owner of that particular amount of stock. Like
Yes.
whatever the valuation of
And
the
how does it brings value to the company?
like, it brings value in many ways. Like we are actually like concerned about the company growth, so that we can.
So, like company
personally
grows,
grow,
yes,
related
and you
to
will also
personal
grow.
growth.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, no, this line is listening. I was wrong. So, now I'll come to the third point, which says buy shares at a discounted rate. So, like I mentioned in the beginning, fair market value can be 40 CR, 50 CR, 100 CR. I do not know that the evaluator will calculate, but you are going to receive it certainly at a discounted price and not at the market price. So, I'll cover that listed unlisted company difference as well. I'll come to that point. You may have that question. So, my next topic is that how it is different. Although I know this organization is not listed, but the way they are growing, I hope very soon they are going to be listed in stock exchange. And please call me at that time. Okay, don't forget that. So, and if I talk about listed unlisted difference, so the prime difference in listed companies you will see. So, let's say if you are eligible for exercise today, okay, Mukesh, you become eligible today, and then what happens? You can go ahead and you can trade that share on stock exchange. You don't need permission from your CEOs or you just have to give a disclosure that so and so share, because you become the owner, and when you become the owner, it's your asset. Whether you sell it, you do not sell it, you hold it, it's your decision, and company cannot intervene in that decision. So that's the difference between a listed and unlisted company, because in unlisted case only the owners can buy that back from you. It's not open for the general public as an whole, but in listed organization you get this benefit that you can sell it, you can trade it anytime on stock exchange. Now I'll come back. I'll come on. Now you all know that how stock option, how this ESOP works. We all know, right? That you get granted, then vesting period, then exercise period. We are all aware now with these terms. If somebody asks, please answer. Okay? Don't say that we do not know these terms. These are new terms for us. So this is all. I do not want to overburden your thoughts with the ESOP scheme or other legal nuances around it. So I want to wrap this topic of ESOP. And if you have any questions, I'll just open this forum for questions on ESOP. Then we will be coming and covering our next topic, which are best practices employees should follow in organization to avoid any legal dispute or litigation. This was a request from your owners. Huh? So yes. Anybody, any question? I'm ready to answer.
Our company is unlisted. Is there any fixed period which we have to hold that?
Yes. Not just your company as an unlisted company, even for a listed organization, there is a vesting period, which I said, in that period you can't trade. In fact, your shares will also not be transferred in your name. The shares will only be transferred in your name at the exercise stage. Always remember, you do not have exercise right, you are not the owner of that share. Once you have the exercise right, you become the owner of that share. Yes, you become the owner of that share. And when you are leaving the organization, let's say, it is compulsory that they need to buy that share from you. Okay, it becomes a mandate on them, because the employee stock option program is only for employees and not outsiders, especially if it is an unlisted organization. If it is a listed company, then you can choose and decide. But even in that category, you cannot hold ESOP. because ESOP is primarily for employees and not for outsiders or third parties. Clear? Any other questions? Sir? No, I thought you have a question. Yes, please.
What is the difference?
Rachit, right? I'm good with names.
What is the difference between mandate where we offer the letter versus shares being offered at a discounted price by employee?
So the grant date is only letting you know that Rachit, you are eligible, and we really want to offer you ESOP. But that ESOP will again have to go through a process. That's only offering a plan to you, not shares. Don't mix ESOP and shares. ESOP is a process altogether. Employee, what I said, stock ownership plan. This is the plan which we are offering you. And in tomorrow's date, when you complete all the stages, vesting period, exercise date, exercise period, then you become eligible to trade. Okay? Anybody? Anything? Should we move to our next topic? Next one is interesting, not like this ESOP. Okay, so first I would like to understand from all of you, what best practices are you following in your organization which can avoid any kind of litigation, legal dispute or anything like that? Which are best practices as per you? Forget legal. Which are best practices as per you? Now this is an easier question. I want this line to at least raise some hands. Please. I'm sure you have some best practices. Yes. Yes, open communication. This is more from a management perspective. I want you as an individual to tell me that what best practices are you following to safeguard your company. Yeah, please think. Or are you guys not following any best practices? That's a red flag for you. So please tell me. At least name few. I was expecting some answers. Sorry? And how do you do that? Yeah, how do you do that? See, say something which is realistic, which I feel to believe. I'm a lawyer. I can figure out what you are following, what you're not following. What do everybody have to do? Even I have to do. I'm a legal counsel and company secretary both. And I'm traveling always in the two boats.
I believe working closely with the competitors or giving them some consulting advice in our free time. So that qualifies as contracting, right? So I'm working full-time in an organization and let's say
No dual employment. Correct?
and if my friend is starting something in a similar domain, that's
So no insider information. My second point comes in. Yeah. Very good. Anybody else want to attempt?
Data regulation.
Sorry?
Data regulation in email and chats.
And how are you doing that?
Keeping everything that our employees, employees,
Not sending it to a third party. Not sending it to a third party. Yes. Very important point you just raised, which is confidentiality. I hope everybody is aware what confidentiality is. If somebody is not aware, I will explain that. You all are aware, right, what confidentiality is? But you are aware as a layman. I'll give you some insights from legal perspective that what confidentiality is. So let's say there is a data, there is any flow chart, any diagram, any solution diagram. You know, anything which can be or which is created in this premises or for Rankly, or which is delivered with deliverables of work product. I don't know how much are you guys creating, but deliverables of work product which are influenced from the data which is a property of Rankly. So all these are termed to be confidential and need not to be necessary that every time it has to be termed as confidential information. Not every time. Even if I'm not terming this is a confidential information, it has to be confidential because you understand the nature of that information and you have to apply some logic and you need to figure out that this is confidential. Okay? So, few points I would like to draw your attention on. First of all, you need to have a very clear communication in your emails. especially not internally, especially when you're writing it to a third party. You know, because you are not replying in the capacity of an individual. You are replying as a rankly authorized person, and whatever email you write, which goes out from your system, now it's a data, it's a record. Okay, it can be used in future, and we do not know when dispute arises or when litigation arises. So we have to be very vigilant while writing emails or giving any written form of communication to any third party outside the organization. See, WhatsApp have a different theory. There is no settled position in legal per se WhatsApp, but I would still recommend that there is no harm in taking precautions even in WhatsApp. You do not know, in tomorrow's date Supreme Court passes a judgment and say WhatsApp records are acceptable. You know, so we can't wait for that situation really to come forward, and we must be vigilant in our thoughts while writing emails. You know, sometimes you get angry, sometimes you get overcommitted, especially sales team. You have to be very, very vigilant because you are the face of the organization. Sales is a very important function because you are in client touch the most, right? So you have to be very vigilant while, you know, sending any written form of communication to your clients or vendors or anybody. Now I'll come to everybody have read their employment agreement and everything. So you guys are well aware what employment or what codes you need to follow. Okay, and these codes are, I would say, mandatory in nature in terms of ESOP as well and otherwise as well. You know, to sustain in your career for a longer period of time. So I'm sure everybody is following that. Now you have to understand a proactive approach needs to be followed and not a reactive one. So let's say if you feel that, you know, this client may sue us or may file some kind of a dispute, you should be proactive in the approach and you should try and resolve that then and there. Then it becomes a hurdle for everybody and becomes a litigation at the end. So we have to be vigilant enough in our duties, in our work, and accordingly we should act. And you need to understand and adhere to the company policies. Whatever policies are there in the system, please read them, understand them and adhere to them. And if you cannot, then please reach out to her because she will make you understand. And then again, I would say that do not ever overcommit to your clients or to your vendors, which we cannot fulfill, because overcommitting perhaps can result in litigation most of the time. If it's an overcommitment verbally, it can still fly. But if you're giving an overcommitment in writing, then I'm sure beware of the consequences of the same. So now I'll touch base to the very important aspect, which is intellectual property. I hope we all know what is intellectual property, especially the product team, because you are the creators of intellectual property. You want to answer? Intellectual property? Correct, absolutely. Code is an intellectual property. Very good, yes. So something you have created, you even do not have a right, then also it's your intellectual property. So it's not necessarily that it has to be registered intellectual property, because I tell you the deep secret that most of the intellectual properties are not registered. 20 years it takes to register a copyright, to register a patent. So not everything you see around logos and everything, fancy logos, I know they are not registered. So it takes very longer. It takes very, very longer. It's not get registered overnight. So companies can register overnight, but not intellectual property. So intellectual property just does not include your codes and diagrams and other things. It also includes something which is secretive in nature, maybe your logos, maybe your trade name. Like this logo cannot be used by anybody else. This trade name cannot be used by anybody else, and you cannot share it with any third party without consent of the board members. You cannot do that. Let's say in today's date you are sitting here, maybe you join some competitor, maybe you join some other organization which are doing similar kind of services. So there is a term in intellectual property that while working also you get in your memory something, right? You have learned something from here, it's in your memory, but you can't misuse that information against Rankly or any owner you work for, any organization you work for, because that organization can sue you for that. This is receptive in nature. So whatever information you have, try and use positively for that organization, but not negatively for your, I would say, former organizations. So this is a very important takeaway, which I think a lot of us do miss, which is why I think it's important to know what are intellectual property, what is confidentiality, what you can share, what you cannot share. Okay, avoid doing that. Do not try to get into any kind of conflict, my suggestion, because these are very sensitive topics and very settled position in law we have, and very settled actions also we have. So avoid doing that in any time in your careers. Not just here, any time in your careers. If you really want to progress in your roles, please avoid doing that, because that's an important update. Then you should have regular trainings, not just product person may be interested in some other activity or something. You should keep updating yourself. That will help the organization and also as an individual growth. So there is no harm in just having dual knowledge or extra knowledge about some subject matter which you may be inclined or interested towards. So then I would say believe in fair business practice. Do not promise anything which you cannot do. Simple. If you are overcommitting, overpromising on behalf of the organization, that will also, you need to face problems, but your organization will also be facing troubles, for that. And if organization is facing trouble, they'll call me, I will call you, and everybody will be in, dangered position. So let's not do that. Now I'll come on agreements, which I feel that are very important part of any organization. So I feel that agreement should be drafted, whether it's vendor or your client agreement. It should cover, this is especially for the founders, it should cover you from end to end. I mean, it should be watertight, in other words. It should not be an agreement that, tomorrow's anybody comes in and sues you for the same, because that was not included. Let's say early termination charges, which I generally see as a pain point for agreements, that you forgot to put any early termination charges, and tomorrow's date somebody is terminating the contract by giving 30 days notice, and you have involved too much in their business and now you are not able to come out of it. So I think these are some critical checkpoints which you should make a list of, and we should ensure that they are present in all agreements, not just one agreement. Whether it's your vendor agreement also, if you are procuring services also, then also you'll be very sure that they should deliver you services. There are SLAs defined, there are penalties defined, there are terms defined which are favorable for the organization overall. And lastly, hire skilled legal counsel. Okay, that's the takeaway. Yeah, no, not about myself. But yeah, skilled wise, yes. So yes, so that was on a lighter part. Again, I'll open the forum. If you have any general question related to legal as a domain, or anything which strikes your mind when you hear something about dispute or anything, anybody? Was it boring? Was it too serious? Everybody's looking too serious to me. Legal sessions are a little like that, sorry. Litigation is the process of end-to-end court settlement, whether you have settled outside, but end-to-end court process. Anybody else? I've not heard anything from you two. You two are only representing this line and not ask anything.
That's why they're sitting alone.
Yeah? What happened? Tomorrow is Friday. Charge yourself up. Ask any question. You don't often meet lawyers, right? So ask questions, no? Very clear? Okay. So this is my time then to ask questions from you. Tell me one best practice, what you have taken from this session, which you will do, which favors the organization. One best practice.
Policies of them.
Do you understand all the policies? You want to name a few policies you want to name, which you like very much? Do you have a policy for that? I don't know. Breaching the data? What's the policy name? Not vetted by me, huh?
But like not to share the data with anyone.
Confidentiality. You want to maintain confidentiality. Okay. One best practice I would like to hear from you, which can favor the organization, not favor you. Okay. Anything. Entire half an hour speech, you didn't get a word. Sad. It's okay. You must have heard me.
Harassment is also there. Harassment.
You want to say something? You want to name a best practice? Yeah. Any best practice you have understood by this session?
Only thing we have is that confidentiality.
Chalo, good. At least you learned confidentiality today, right? So, okay. Thank you guys, and I will just rest this session and I'll let you all go home because it's too late. I'm not sure what are your office timings, but yes, so this is it from my end. And if you have any queries, reach out to them. They will reach out to me and I'll happily answer all of them. Yeah? Thank you.
No, I have a small doubt.
Please.
So let's say I being registered as Coder Value Solution Private Limited. Later on, I thought that I would like to change the company name and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going all the way from A to B.
Mm.
So does it change the options that I've already
No.
pushed to all the
No.
employees? It remains same.
Change in the name of company, registered office, place of business will not change anything. What
it
you
remains
have,
same.
what your obligations are, whether your creditors, ESOP, your company shares, whatever obligations you have made, you have to pay all of
And
them.
when it turns out to be ownership, let's say I was the owner, now I'm making him as an owner.
So your certificate will change, no? If it is in demat form,
There are laws which can be
Of
changed,
course,
but it
of
is not
course.
something which is-
Ministry of Corporate Affairs, it allows you to change the name of the company, provided it is available. We have done that in the past. Provided it is available and it is not registered with someone else, and you are not trying to take advantage. Let's say Nestle is a registered name and you tried to change the spelling and try to register that, not possible.
Can the company be filed as a bankrupt?
You have very good vision, I must say. But yes,
Because I know. I am from revenue, so I know.
So what do you want to understand from bankruptcy?
I want to understand what happens when it's a startup. Startup is something when 1,000 startups are getting opened every day in India, right? It's normal.
Hmm.
So the success rate is very less.
But I think you all should clap for your own selves when I say that this organization have successfully completed so many
That's
years,
where I was
and
coming
I have seen this organization from scratch because I'm the one who registered this company. In COVID times, we have registered this company, and from Signifier to Rankly Journey, I have seen them growing like anything, especially with few hands. So I think you should clap for your own self. And to answer your question,
That was the question that I was actually telling her. So the day one when we started, the day that we are starting, my end period, and this is what I want to achieve. Somehow something happens, and we need to change clauses. Will that impact the priorities that?
what clauses you want to change?
जैसे company name, जैसे आपने बोला कि company name.
That's not a clauses. That's something which is a call of the founders that now they want to have a new company. From employee perspective, nothing can be changed if it is sealed under the ESOP scheme, because that scheme is not their internal policy. That needs to get filed with MCA. And once MCA have a copy of it, if you want to make any changes in that, there is a provision to make changes, but then you have to go again to the MCA and telling them that, sir, 1, 2, 3 points we want to change.
It cannot be done overnight.
Obviously,
That's
it
what
is
you're
not.
saying.
Because this is a regulated process. It is not made by a owner or an individual or group of people. No.
Okay.
It's a law which governs by Companies Act, and amendments do come. So in future amendments, whatever I have only saw that things are getting better for employees. I have never seen an amendment which gets worse for employees from government perspective. So I'm assuming that this will get more, because I know a few things are getting amended from back end. So you will get notification. I don't know any of you read notification, but it is getting amended.
Why?
No, it keeps amending as per the current situation. We keep getting new things, no? So new scenarios, and you have to include everything there in the law. Okay, any other questions, guys? Yes, please. Your name first. Swayam. Okay.
So,
पूरा नाम बता स्वयंवर.
yeah, Swayamvar.
Swayamvar is a good name.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, my question is like when employee gets shares from the employer, so would that shares comes under equity shares or preference?
Equity. Equity. That is why you become owner. So preference shares do not have voting rights. Equity share do have voting rights in board meetings, AGMs, EGMs, committee meeting. You get a lot of rights.
So now he becomes an owner, right? Let's say
He will become an owner. I see that potential in you, huh?
So let's say now I am taking a decision which I think it's correct for the company. Now he's somebody who's actually crossing that. No, you cannot take that decision. So does he has the rights to stop that decision?
Once he become eligible. So you are going far away.
So it doesn't matter whether how much.
No, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Right?
But
So
remind
we
you,
can
but
question.
remind you that majority wins. It's not that you are not agreeing and these three want to do something, they can't do it. They can do it.
What if इनको पिला खिला के अपनी तरफ कर लिया?
See, I don't comment on anti-bribery perspectives. I refrain commenting there.
But he
Yes.
has the rights to put question.
Of course, as an employee also he can put question, and I'm sure you all allow open door policy.
It is.
Yeah. Yes, please. You had raised your hand. Both civil and criminal impact both. Yes. I have 10 number of acts which can make you a civil criminal or a criminal as a criminal. It got changed. Why it cannot be? It depends what the loss has occurred. So if you kill somebody in the office premises, will it not be a criminal offense? So let's talk about agreement. Now it's a confidential information. It was a very price sensitive information. They were about to release something, and you have just gave that information. Because of that, somebody commits suicide. Will criminal proceedings can be filed against you or not?
But then I think it's not a document, right? It is like a common.
No, but it will constitute from where?